You know, as I was just out here sitting on the porch, on the deck, however you choose to address this area, I call it my front deck of the house. And as I was sitting out here just enjoying myself, I got to thinking about some things. And there are some things I want to share with y'all. I've heard so many people paint such a beautiful picture about what it is to live alone and how great it is. And it is. It is such a peace. You don't have nobody to bother you, nobody to fight with, nobody to argue with. And sometimes you miss those things. But one of the scariest things that I've learned that I have been through was just what ifs. The what ifs. And let me share something with you. There was a day that I was moving around in the city and I had taken my son to his regular scheduled doctor's appointments. So as I was moving around the city, taking him to his doctor's appointment, it was almost like I felt really, really tired. Really tired. So as I continued with my day and running all the appointments, then I started to come home. And as I started home, I found myself turning down the wrong side of the road. Well, thank God there was a nice police officer and he blew the horn to alert me that I was going down the wrong side of the road, and I crossed back over where I belong, and he let me go about my business. So as I made it, thank you Jesus, I made it back to the house. I came into the house and I began to feel so tired. It was me and my son, and y'all know my son is autistic, and he's basically, he's verbal, but he speaks words mostly, not a whole lot of sentences, but he doesn't know how to operate in emergency situations. Let's just put it that way. So I came in and I decided I was going to lay down and take a nap because I felt so drugged down tired. Well, I lay down and I went to sleep. When I awakened from my sleep, I opened my eyes and the whole house was spinning. And it was spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning. And it was spinning so fast, I didn't know what was happening. Well, I remember I called my son and I told him to come to the front of the house and just open the front door as I was dialing 911. So now mind you, my son is autistic, disabled himself. So he came to the front door, and thank God he obeyed me at that point, because sometimes he don't do things right away. Sometimes he just doesn't listen sometimes, or he don't understand what I'm trying to say. And at that point, I basically wasn't even in a position where I could understand what I was trying to say. All I remember saying was, honey, please open the front door. And as I dialed 911 and the operator got on, and she was saying, what is your emergency? I said, I took a nap and I feel like I'm spinning and I don't know what's going on, but I need an ambulance right away. I have an autistic child in the home. The front door will be open. I'm in the front room. So as I was saying these things, I felt like I was losing consciousness. Felt like I was being drugged down by something. Felt like a force had grabbed me by my legs and it was just dragging me down like I had a weight on my chest. It was just like, every time I opened my eyes, I couldn't see because the room was just spinning like a fast Himalaya, like at the amusement park. It was just going crazy. So I didn't know what was happening. It scared the daylights out of me. So as I began to close my eyes, I just began to pray. And I began to just pray to God. And I began to say, Lord, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. And I just kept praying, for thou art with me. I just kept talking to the Lord and just kept praying in my mind. But in my mind, really, truly, I just knew that I was about ready to go meet my maker. Now, in the midst of me feeling like this, I knew I had to wait, so I had to keep my eyes closed, because every time I opened my eyes, it was like I was feeling worse. I was feeling sick. I was feeling like I was going to throw up. I didn't know what was happening to me, and I was scared. That was the first time I was actually really, truly scared in a long time, to be to that fear of knowing that I was getting ready to leave here. That's where I felt. But in the same respect, there was nothing I could do about it but begin to pray, and that was it. So as I just laid there, I heard my son saying, Mom, is something wrong? And I remember saying, yes, something's wrong. And I heard him, and it was almost like he was getting ready to cry. And I would say, no, son, stay strong. Mommy, mommy, mommy. And all I could say is, mommy, mommy, mommy. And then down I went. Down I went. And it was like I couldn't say anything else. And then I heard the lady again. It was like I was going in and out. And I heard the lady on the phone. And she said, ma'am, stay with me. Stay with me. The fire department is going to get to your house first. And they're only 3 minutes away. Stay with me. Stay with me. And I could not answer her. I could not answer her. I could not open my eyes. And I did not know what was happening. I was so scared. I didn't know what was going on. But I wasn't really so much scared for me. I was scared for my son because he cannot be by himself. And I said to myself, I got to hold on for him. I got to hold on. I got to hold on for my children. Then I started thinking about my blood children. I kept saying, no, I got to hold on. I can't end like this. And I was just fighting for my life. It felt like I was just on that couch fighting for my life. So then all of a sudden, I heard the front door open. And it was the fire department coming in. And I was right there as they walked in, right there on the couch. And I heard the man say, he was trying to ask me what was going on, but I couldn't tell him. I could not say anything. So he just, I guess they started taking my vitals or whatever. But it was like, I just couldn't understand anything. Everything was a fog. My brain was a fog. Everything was just purely spinning. And I remember saying, I can't open my eyes. The room is spinning. I couldn't open my eyes. And then for a minute, then all of a sudden, the next minute, I heard the door open again, and it was the ambulance coming in. They were bringing the chairs, so they put me in the stretcher. And then I remember saying, Xavier. And then I heard the man say, don't worry, he'll be in the ambulance with us. Because my son also has a life alert ban on him. So anytime they take me, they assured me they would have to take him. But that's what I'm saying, that to say this. That is the scary part about living alone and being of age and being older, and you have no one to make medical phone calls for you or know what to do in a medical situation. Now that is scary. And this is not the first time that I have been in situations like this. This time it was me, but another time there was another gentleman that I knew who also had went through a similar situation, but he didn't make it. He did not make it. He lived alone, and he was only 59 years old, and he passed away in the house, and they had to come and get him out the house. To make a long story short, I was able to call the police about that situation. That was when I lived in Delaware. But that's the only thing that scares me about living alone, is the fact that these things could happen to anybody at any given time, at any given age, to tell you the truth. And if something was to happen like that to myself, then I'm here alone. Nobody would never know that something had happened to me unless my son wanders outside and then somebody knows him, or they don't see you moving around or something of that nature. But it's almost like, it's scary because even the neighbors I have, they're not the kind of people that check on you like that. So even though I'm outside most of the time or whatever, but there has been times that the ambulance has come and got my son, and I wasn't able to come outside for 6 or 7 days at a time, and no one even knocked on the door to see if I was dead or alive. You know, that's what you go through when you live alone. That's the scariest part about living alone. And that's why I'm always telling people to check on your loved ones. Check on the people that are the strong tower in your family. Check on people. Don't just leave it to chance that they'll be okay, especially when you know the situation they're in, and if they're living by themselves, you know. And it's just a situation that a lot of people are in right now, and especially a lot of elderly people. They're in situations where they're living by themselves and they're trying to make do. But strokes can happen at a blink of an eye. Heart attacks can happen at the blink of an eye. These things could just happen out of nowhere. People can just have strokes and they can just fall in the floor, you know what I'm saying? Or they could just take a fall and they can't get up and things of that nature. And you don't have to be 65, 70 to do that. You could be young doing that. You could still be young and living on your own. But mainly for the elderly, those are the things that frighten me the most about living by myself. Or if I was out here in the yard and I would have a medical emergency, you know, and there's no one around to see exactly if I'm okay and things of that nature. So living alone has its perks, but it also has its frightening points too, of where you got to be careful and you really got to just try your best to stay as healthy as you possibly can and move around as much as you can, so that, you know, somebody would see you. But I just get to thinking about that. You know, if you have a heart attack in the middle of the night, or stroke in the middle of the night, or something happens, or you're bad off sick, or you're vomiting or whatever, and you can't get out of the house, or you can't get to the phone, then you're really messed up because there's nobody there to help you. So those are some of the things that scare me about living in a house alone, because a lot of people talk about how wonderful it is to have their peace, how wonderful it is to be in solitude, how wonderful it is to be with God and enjoying your life and things of that nature. And it is a beautiful thing to be able to have your independence, but it's also a scary thing when you know know that you could go through these injuries or these sicknesses or have these ailments come upon you. Even if you're healthy, healthy people too have heart attacks, and you're living alone and there's nobody there to care for you at that time. Or even if you have to have a surgery of some kind, say like I have been having a lot of pain in this shoulder, and they had told me that they needed to do a rotator cuff, and I've been really putting it off because of the fact that I've been trying to use it to hope it get better, and it has gotten better to a certain extent, but they're telling me that they may have to go in and clean that cartridge out. Well, my biggest fear about that is the fact too, I have no one here to take care of me or my son if that was to happen, if I go in for that surgery and then I come out and I got one hand and I have no one here to cut the grass, no one here to take care of me, no one here to look after my son, no one here to make sure that I get back and forth to the doctor, that I'm alert enough to take my own medications. You gotta really think about a lot of things when you're talking about living on your own at a certain age, long term. Now, I feel like I'm healthy as a horse now, but as I begin to age, believe me, there was some things that are actually crossing my mind about what am I going to do as I begin to age, if I'm still here by myself, I'm still alone by myself, or there's nobody on the property with me, then this big piece of property here would be too big for me to manage. I would probably have to eventually turn this piece of property over to a younger family, a younger group, and just take my money and roll out, take and sell out and take my cash and go and live the rest of my life somewhere else, because this piece of property is very huge and I love it. God knows I love it now, because I still think that I'm young enough and I feel like I'm strong enough to manage it, because I've been managing it by myself and I just love it. But these are things that you think about when you do live on your own. You do have to start preparing your life, and you do have to think about some things that you wouldn't normally think about, and you have to think about goals that you have for your life, and you don't want to leave it to the point where somebody else has to take care of things for you when you are still young enough to take care of things yourself. Look, y'all, my FedEx driver just showed up. I don't know if he got packages for me. Hold on. See the FedEx driver? He's pulling back in here in the yard, so he must got some packages for me. It never fails when every time I'm trying to be busy, make a video. But what can you do? This is what I get for ordering so much stuff. Yeah, so those are some of the fears that I have about living by myself. And as you can see, I just got my packaging. My packaging always comes right on time. So, but yeah, there's a lot of things that you have to think about when you're an elderly person living on your own and you have no one there to take care of you, and no one there to do things with your medical stuff. And so you're left doing some things by yourself. So I figure I would want to drop that in somebody's spirit. If you're out there and you're living by yourself, you're living on your own, are these some things that you think about? Are these some things that you have set up? Is there someone that comes and checks on you when you're at home to make sure that you're okay and to make sure that, you know, everything is going well? Hold on a minute, y'all. Got my packages and he's gone. Yep, got my bags. So I thought this was something that I also wanted to put out there, because that episode that I had, oh, and come find out, they said that it was vertigo. If any of y'all ever had vertigo, if y'all know what vertigo is, if y'all ever been in that situation. But it was a bad case, because I did stay in the hospital 3.5, almost 4 days. I stayed in the hospital with that vertigo, and it took a lot to get that off of me. And I mean, it was like I was at the hospital and I was still was spinning. So they sent me home with medication, but I had never had vertigo a day in my life. Never had I had vertigo a day in my life. And then somebody told me that they have said that people that have had them COVID shots back then, a lot of people are complaining of vertigo during that in that time. So if you've ever had vertigo and you've ever experienced what I've experienced, or you ever had it to that degree where you had to be hospitalized, and I was hospitalized for 3 to 4 days, it took a long time for that thing to get off of me. I'm telling you, the hospital room was still spinning. When the doctors came in, they could tell by my eyes was still, I guess, dilated, whatever. They could still see that my eyes were still moving around, and that the wall was still moving. Every time I opened my eyes, it was like everything was still sliding up the wall. They were giving me strong medication, and it took a long time to get that off off of me, and I pray that never happens again. But the blessing part of it is I was able to make it all the way home, and I was able to make it to go take a nap. But that was so scary, because had I not made it, had I passed away, nobody would have never knew that I was in this house going through that type of struggle if I never made it through to the phone to be able to call nobody or tell somebody what was going on. So that made me think about a lot of things. I mean, it made me think about the fact that, you know, what happens when people have a stroke, what happens when people have heart attacks, what happens when people take falls and you're home alone and you're of age and there's nobody there to check on you, nobody there to help you. So that's the scary part that I see of living by yourself. That is very scary. That is a very scary situation to be in, is for you to take sick in the house, or you have to have a surgery of some kind and then there's nobody there to take care of you and you're trying to fight to take care of yourself, going through it all by yourself and all alone. So that's my spill on living alone, the negative side of living on your own, the negative side about being by yourself. And being, even like I said, even with having a piece of property this big, you know, something happens in the middle of the night, I'm not going outside to see what happens and all of that kind of stuff. It's too dark. It's too dangerous. You got to really worry about the dangers that are out there lurking and not lurking. So all you can do is pray and put a prayer on your situation and trust that you'll be okay. But in the real life, in the real world we living in, we know we live in a world where it is very wicked. It's very wicked. And on top of that, all the sicknesses that could come upon you, that could happen. And I'm not trying to speak nothing negative into my own life, but I'm just making it aware, trying to bring awareness to the fact that these things do happen. And when they do happen, you got to figure out exactly what can you do. What can you do? Who is calling you? Who's checking for you? Who's checking on you? Who cares enough or love you enough to see if you're okay? So that's my spiel about that. So y'all be blessed. I love you. And if you are out there, you're elderly and you're living on your own, try your best to stay connected with somebody that can check on you. Put it out there that you want to be checked on. You want somebody to call you. You want somebody to check and see if you're okay. And if and so there is somebody that you can trust, that you can live with, that you can share that space with. Try your best to share that space with somebody that you can that will be there for you and that will help take care of you. You can help take care of them. So I love y'all. I pray that this message helps somebody. Y'all be blessed until y'all hear from me again. But turn your notifications on, of course, so that you will be notified when I drop my next video. And so many of y'all are watching and you're not subscribed. Please help the channel. It will be a blessing for you to subscribe. We're on a journey to 10K, trying to get to 10K over here. Thank all my 3,000 subscribers that I already have, each and every one of you. I really appreciate everybody that has come in thus far. We may have a little over 3,000 now, but we're headed to 10K over here. Let's go. We got this, because we're a channel that's on the move. Be blessed.